Okay, I'll try and attempt that first. They possibly, by virtue of geographically being where they are, perhaps have not had to deal with the consumer-driven pressures that students or parents and children in the cities have to deal with. But now keep in mind that mobile phones, the reach of mobile phones is everywhere. So aspirationally, their yearning for that remains, and they are on the same social media platforms as our young people in urban areas. So that sense of validation, that digital affirmation that I talked about, is still very much an issue with them. We may not have the birthday party scenario. We won't have the 24/7 consumer-driven parents because they do not have the means. But there are other aspirations and that they still have. And this lack of feeling good about themselves, when you completely relinquish your sense of self to validation from the external, that could possibly still be happening. But my ethnographic study does not cover them. This is an assumption I'm making. I couldn't agree with you more. It's a sad day when we have to teach a fundamental universal value like kindness. I think I did mention that kindness and compassion is now seen as a vulnerability. And unless schools reverse that value system, own kindness and compassion, and see it as the bedrock of what they are trying to teach their children, it is not going to make any kind of shift. And even in schools that do that, and there are several who do attempt, we find that it's very often counterposed by what they hear at home. And it is coming from the home. By and large, schools don't spew hatred. Schools generally talk of tolerance. Some may do much, much more in terms of acceptance and informing their children about the pluralism of our country and the diversity that we have to cherish. Other schools may not go that far, but sadly, it's when that's happening in the home and then reverberating in class. So what kind of mechanism can there be? Two things, I think. I think in the first instance, schools need to be much more proactive about this, particularly in the times of hate that we live in, that they not only do that with the children, but they also have to hold this conversation and this dialogue with parents through their parent-school associations, through group meetings, whatever it is. And then the third, and I'd take that further, they have to take a stand. They have to take a stand, and they have to get out there if there is a protest about a hate crime, then school students have to stand up and be counted. But that means school administrators having the courage to stand up and be counted. You know, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's foundation, in conjunction with the University of Emory, has brought out what they have called SEAL, Social, Emotional, and Ethical Learning. And that weaves in strands of getting children to reflect on their behaviors, to understand loving kindness and gentle compassion, and to look at ways of promoting that in their lives, along with ethics. This is going global. It's free. It's a beautiful curriculum. There is no reason why every school should not take it over, take it on, embrace it. Absolutely none whatsoever. It has got nothing to do with any kind of faith and everything to do with building children who have that love at the center of their being. And interestingly enough, there are schools in the UK, 350, who are following mindfulness, which is also stemming from Thich Nhat Hanh, who is another Buddhist monk and a Nobel Prize laureate. And he has over 150 books on love and kindness and compassion and how to generate it from within. So I would hope that along with the happiness curriculum, that a kindness, that an understanding of small kindnesses is all that it takes for a happy person to make himself or herself happy and to make others happy. So yes, I agree. I've taken a long time saying I agree, but yes, I agree. I think that the two things have happened. In the first instance, as knowledge and the curriculum grow, the volume has increased. Things, we keep adding things. Time and time again, recommendations have been made that 30% of the curriculum should be cut because it's not relevant anymore. So we keep adding and it gets larger and larger and larger. There have been some brave attempts to bring in application-based assessments so that it is not based on memory alone, but on how you apply that as a concept. But when you consider the numbers who are being assessed, they find that multiple choice questions, MCQs, are a much easier way, a standardized way to check for understanding. And that doesn't allow a child to actually basically frame a particular answer at all in any kind of coherent language or strings of sentences. All you need to do is remember a fact, or you need to be able to guess the right one. So while some efforts have been made, we are a long, long way to making the curriculum truly relevant and to initiating an assessment system or a testing system that is based on application and thought as opposed to multiple choice, rote and memory. I think in many, many, many cases, I would say that the middle class finds itself being hopelessly outnumbered. And for the sake of their children, they try their level best to keep up with the Joneses, if you like. In many cases, there are some who have steadfastly stuck to their values and told their children, I'm sorry, we can't afford this. If you want X, something will have to go. We can't go on a holiday, or we will not be able to carry on with your football classes. And I have all this on sort of record. So I wouldn't be able to generalize. I would say that I see the tension present in those that have just said, if this is what it takes for my child to be happy, I will stretch that. I will do the overtime. I will not buy X, Y, or Z for myself and I'll give her or him the phone. And for others who have said, sit down, this is our financial situation, and I'm sorry, but overseas holidays are not on the cards until you reach some date, whatever.